Hi ladies, this is Mr. O'Sullivan. Today we're going to be looking at lesson 2-3, the domain and range of a graph. Today's learning target is, I can determine the domain and range of a graph of a function by examining my x and y values. So, to find the domain and range of a graph, it's actually pretty straightforward. For a domain, you scan your pencil left to right and identify the x values in which you are touching the graph. For your range, scan your pencil, top and bottom, and identify the y values in which you are touching the graph, okay? So, one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to be determining our domain and our range, and we're also applying the vertical line test to determine if we're a function. So let's just go ahead and do our vertical lines test first. So we draw a line going down our graph, and we draw it through our graph, and if you look, it only hits it once every single spot. So this is a function. So we're going to write yes. We're going to write yes, and it passes the VLT. So if I look, my graph has arrows going on forever and ever and ever in both directions. So when I think about this for my domain would be all real numbers. So whenever your graph goes on forever and ever and ever, your domain is all real numbers. And if you want, you can do the symbol R for real. Now your range, we just said, you scan your pencil from top to bottom. So I'm going to use my laser pointer as my pencil. I don't hit my graph, don't hit my graph, don't hit my graph, don't hit my graph, and I hit it right here. So we want to know what our lowest y value is. Well, our lowest y value is -2. So I can write my range as y is greater than or equal to -2. And if I want to write this in interval notation, I can write this as -2 to infinity. Number 2. Is it a function? Nope, not a function. Fails the vertical line test. Now my domain, I go farthest left. If I look, the furthest left is this number right here, which is 1, 2, 3. It's a -3. Now I go all the way to the right, and I end here. It's 1, 2, 3. So I go -3 to 3. So I can write this as -3 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3. If you wanted to, you can also write that using interval notation. My range, I do the exact same thing. I'm going to go low to high. And if you look, I go from -3 to 3 again, but this time I'm using my y values. So -3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 3, and my range is the exact same thing, -3 to 3. Number 2. I do my vertical line test. It hits my graph once and once always. So this is a function because it passes the VLT. Now, we want to figure out our domain. Well, we know our domain is going on forever, and our graph is going on forever and ever and ever. So what we're going to do is say that our domain is all real numbers. Which we can write with this fancy letter R. Your range, since it's no high and no low, is also going to be all real numbers. Number 4. I'm going to draw my vertical line and move it along my graph. If you look, I always hit my graph just once. So this is a function. my domain. Since my domain is going on forever and ever and ever in both directions, I can plug in an x value anywhere and still get an answer. So I can say my domain is, again, all real numbers. Now your range. I look to see how low. Well, if we look, my graph is going on forever and ever and ever downstairs. Now I see how high, and I stop here. This y value is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my 5 is my highest value. So I can say that my range is going to be y less than or equal to 5. Or negative infinity to 5. Number 5. I can already tell something. Is this a function? No, it fails the vertical line test. Now our domain. Well, if we look, our domain, we start here at the left, and we end here at the right. So my x values are negative 1 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 1 to 5. So I can say my domain is negative 1 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 5. I can also use interval notation by using negative 1 to 5. Okay. My range, I look to see how low to how high. So if I look, my lowest point is negative 3, and my highest point is 3. So I can say my range is negative 3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 3, or I can use my interval notation and do negative 3 to 3. Number 6, I do my vertical line test. I go across my graph, and I always just hit it once. So I can say that this is a function, because it passes the VLT. Now, if I look, my graph goes on forever and ever and ever in both directions. And if you look, it's constantly going up, and it's constantly going down. And I'm going to hit every x value eventually, and I'm even going to hit every y value eventually. So if I wanted to, I can say my domain is all real numbers. And I can also say my range is all real numbers. Now let's go on to our next page. Let's look to see if it's a function. I move my vertical line across my graph, and I always only hit it once. So yes. And it passes the VLT. My domain is my x values. So if I look, it's going on in this direction, it's going on in this direction. So my domain is, again, all real numbers. My range, though, it's following a pattern. My y values are only hitting here, and they're only reaching this point as well. So my lowest y value is negative 3, and my highest y value is 2. So I can say that my range is negative 3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 2, or I can use interval notation of negative 3 to 2. Number 8. Is this a function? Let's look. Nope, not a function. It already fails the vertical line test. So now let's look. If I look at this graph for my domain, the furthest left I go is right here. And then I go on forever and ever and ever in this direction, and forever and ever and ever in this direction. So my domain's not all real numbers because I don't ever plug in these numbers over here. So I can say that my domain is x is greater than or equal to negative 1. And I can also write that as -1 to infinity. My range, though, is going to be all real numbers because I go up and I never end, and I go down and I never end. So I can say that my domain is all real numbers. Number 9. If I look at number 9, I go across, and boom, I hit every single point on my line. This is already not going to be a function. Our domain, though, if you look, I never hit 1, never hit 3, never hit 4, never hit 5, never hit 6. I only hit this x value right here, which is 1. So my domain is actually x is equal to 1. Your range, though, since I'm going up forever and down forever, my range is going to be all real numbers. Number 10. If you look, you might think this isn't a function, but you'll be surprised. I always hit my graph once. This is a function. Now your domain, I have all these values and they give me answers. So my domain is going to be all real numbers. My range, on the other hand, I only hit this y value right here in both directions. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hit -4. So my range is just going to be y is equal to -4. Number 11. If you look, I always only hit my graph once, so this is a function. My domain, I look to see how far to the left. I start right here at -2, and I end right here at 5. So if I look, my domain would be -2 less than or equal to x less than 5. Now the reason why I'm saying less than 5 is because if you look, this is a bullet hole. So if I want to, I can write this as -2 to 5. My range, how low to how high. If you look, I hit that bullet hole again. So I have -2 less than y less than or equal to. My highest y value is right here at 1. If I want to, I can do -2 to 1, and that's my range. I passed the vertical line test. This is a function. My domain, well, I go all the way to the left at -1, -2, -3, -4. And I go all the way over to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I end right here. So I go -4 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 5. Now my range is how low, how high. So at -3 to 5. So -3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 5. Now, number 13. If you look, this is a function because it passes the vertical line test. Passes the vertical line test. So, yes, passes the VLT. Now, if I look, it goes on forever to the left of my point. It goes on forever and ever in this direction. But I don't go to the right of this x value of 2. So my domain is actually x less than 2 because it's a bullet hole or I can write it as negative infinity to 2. My range, though, if you look, the highest value I hit is at 0. And it just keeps on going down forever and ever and ever. So you can see my range is y is less than 0 or negative infinity to 0. Now, number 14. If I look, this is a function. My domain is how far to the left, how far to the right. Well, if you look, I go out 2, and I go all the way out forever and ever and ever. So my domain is x greater than or equal to negative 2, because this is a closed circle. Or negative 2 to infinity. My range is my lowest to my highest. My lowest is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. And it goes up forever and ever and ever. So my range is y is greater than or equal to negative 4 or negative 4 to positive infinity. And that's how you find the domain and range of a graph. If you have any questions, email myself or Ms. Townsend.